Millions in Syria and Iraq are facing water shortages as the region's longest river, the Euphrates, dries up.
A new video just captured the strangest screams coming from the drying Euphrates River. Historically significant in Turkey, Syria, and Iraq, the river draws attention for unexpected reasons. Some interpret these strange sounds as the cries of fallen angels, reminiscent of ancient biblical tales. Could these noises indicate an emerging, sinister phenomenon? Let's explore why this discovery is going to turn into worldwide news as an urgent threat any second now. The Euphrates draining waters. As the Euphrates River, once a powerful and significant waterway, nears the point of drying up completely, people are paying close attention to every change in its water levels. The reduction in flow brings to mind ancient biblical predictions that speak of catastrophic events when the river runs dry. Recently, a video claiming to capture the sound of anguished screams from the river's depths has sparked widespread discussion. These sounds have been interpreted by some as the cries of mythical fallen angels, causing both fear and excitement. Others suggest these could simply be natural noises made by the riverbed as the water recedes. The Euphrates has been much more than a river, stretching across the landscapes of ancient civilizations in Turkey, Syria, and Iraq. In its prime, it supported the development of agriculture, powered industries, and facilitated settlements. Its banks have marked the borders of great empires and have been the scenes of countless battles. Today, however, it's often discussed not just as an important natural resource, but also as a border between the real and the supernatural, thanks to its frequent mentions in religious texts. The Bible notably mentions the Euphrates as one of the 4 rivers flowing from the Garden of Eden. This connection has given it a dual identity, as both a vital resource and a symbolic boundary line. The lore around fallen angels, who are said to have been cast out of heaven for rebellion, is often linked to the Euphrates. Some ancient stories, like those in the Book of Enoch, suggest that the river might be a place where these celestial beings are trapped. These stories have evolved over thousands of years and often include apocalyptic predictions where the drying of the river signals the start of catastrophic events. Such dramatic tales increase the river's prominence in our shared consciousness, transforming it from a mere geographic feature into a central figure in grand narratives. However, these supernatural-focused stories may distract from the real and urgent issues, such as the environmental and political consequences of the river's decreasing water levels. The recent eerie noises reported from the river could be seen as a continuation of its legendary status. Yet they prompt practical questions about the sources and nature of these sounds. It's plausible that these could be just natural sounds like sediment shifting or the ecosystem reacting to environmental stress. As the situation in areas dependent on the Euphrates for water becomes tense, such phenomena might highlight underlying local concerns more than signaling supernatural occurrences. In places like Israel and nearby areas where water access is a contentious issue, the plight of the Euphrates underscores the complex relationship between natural resources and regional stability. While the mystic and apocalyptic stories capture public imagination, they might overshadow the real challenges that countries depending on this essential water source face. As the Euphrates' flow weakens, both its historical significance and its uncertain future continue to attract global attention. Whether viewed through the lens of ancient prophecies or through environmental studies, the river remains a key topic in discussions about our global future. Its true importance may not lie in the supposed dramatic roles it plays in myths, but in its clear demonstration of the need for sustainable resource management and international cooperation in the face of environmental challenges. This emphasizes the river's role not just as a subject of ancient prophecies, but as a critical element in current international relations and environmental strategies. The ongoing issues surrounding the Euphrates serve as a vivid reminder of the pressing need to address these environmental concerns proactively. This isn't the first time natural occurrences in this area have been quickly linked to grand biblical predictions. The Euphrates River is drying up, a fact that is significant to many Christian followers who recall its mention in the Bible as the place where 4 angels are set to be freed as the river vanishes. Every notable change in the river seems to bring these religious stories back into conversation, mixing ancient beliefs with today's environmental problems. The legitimacy of these sounds, claimed by some to be the wails of the biblical fallen angels, is debatable. Iraq is currently experiencing its worst drought in years, impacting communities that depend on the Euphrates and its sister river, the Tigris. The situation is made worse by the mismanagement of water resources, leaving the soil dry and the people suffering. In a significant action, authorities emptied part of the Mosul Dam reservoir earlier this year to help save the crops in Kurdistan, which unintentionally revealed an ancient city from the Mitanni Empire, estimated to be about 3,400 years old. This city, thought to be Zakiku, was known to locals before the dam was built in the 1980s, but it hadn't been thoroughly studied until now. This city had surfaced briefly during a drought in 2018, providing researchers a short window to examine a palace with strong walls and remains of colorful murals. That chance was short-lived, as they couldn't map the entire area before it went underwater again. When the drought returned, archaeologists, with quick funding from the University of Freiburg, came back to document important structures, like what seems to be an industrial complex, fortifications, and a large storage building. These findings indicate that the city was an important trade and wealth center in the Mitanni Empire. The preservation of the city's walls, despite being submerged and experiencing an earthquake that initially knocked them down, helped protect the ruins under rubble. Amid these archaeological activities, a video purporting to record supernatural sounds emerged, leading to wide speculation. The clip, thought to capture the sounds of the fallen angels or beasts as described in the biblical book of Revelation, has intrigued and puzzled many. Revelation talks about 4 angels at the Euphrates, meant to kill a third of mankind with a large army. It also talks about humanity being judged for its stubbornness, with a voice ordering the release of these demonic beings, which closely matches the sounds in the video. Yet with just this video as evidence, many remain skeptical. Next, we explore how local researchers stumbled upon surprising discoveries at the river. The Euphrates' unexplained echoes. The video was taken by local researchers studying the drought's impact on the area. Their identities aren't mentioned, but their rapid response to the river's changes indicates they know the area's geography and history well. While it's easy to get caught up in a dramatic interpretation of events, the combination of environmental challenges and historical discoveries offers a more solid and equally interesting story, one that doesn't need supernatural elements to be engaging. This narrative not only reflects the ongoing struggle of the local communities with their changing environment, but also connects the past with the present as ancient history is brought to light under dire circumstances. They used a mix of specialized tools typically found at geological and archaeological sites: ground-penetrating radar, GPR, hydrophones, and seismic sensors. The GPR can map what's beneath the surface, the hydrophones record sounds underwater, and the seismic sensors pick up vibrations deep inside the earth that are too faint for us to hear. These tools were supposed to help check if the newly uncovered parts of the riverbed were stable and to make sure that any digging for artifacts was done safely. But the results they got were not at all what they were expecting. Instead of picking up normal geological or structural data, the hydrophones and seismic sensors recorded strange, low-frequency sounds. Local people described these sounds as cries or screams, believing they came from spiritual beings mentioned in their religious stories. The true nature of these sounds hasn't been figured out yet, with explanations ranging from the otherworldly to the downright ordinary. Some people think these noises might be the sounds of angels in distress, as told in some religious texts, while others think they might just be natural noises like shifting rocks, gases escaping, or water moving through hidden channels. At first, people didn't take these claims seriously, but as the dry spell went on and the noises kept being recorded, more people started to pay attention, both locally and around the world. As the research into these strange noises continued, the river became the center of a puzzling acoustic problem. Teams of researchers from different fields joined forces trying to figure out where these sounds were coming from. Their efforts were watched with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. The recordings themselves created an unsettling feeling and sparked various theories about their origins. When the recordings were released, they were closely examined by experts from several disciplines. Acousticians suggested that the sounds could be caused by unusual sound wave interactions in water or air, which might create weird, disturbing noises. Geologists brought in more straightforward explanations, suggesting these were just natural sounds of the earth moving, like plates shifting or gases coming out of cracks in the riverbed. Paranormal fans, on the other hand, saw these recordings as potential evidence of supernatural activities, linking them to other unexplained sounds that some believe have mystical origins. Their enthusiasm seemed to paint their views, transforming natural events into something far more fantastic. This incident at the Euphrates River is reminiscent of other unexplained sounds that have occasionally sparked public interest and led to debates between those who believe in mystical explanations and those who stick to scientific reasoning. This situation seems to be unfolding similarly, with each group drawing their conclusions. While the river itself flows on, unaffected, its shores have become the scene of a modern debate that spans from enlightening discussions to outright ridiculous claims. Whether these sounds will ever be fully explained by science or remain fodder for those who prefer to speculate is still up in the air. For now, they act as a reminder of our human tendency to find intrigue where there may be none, and our readiness to embrace stories that go beyond what the facts might support. In this case, the strange sounds from the river have become a topic of both scientific inquiry and popular speculation, illustrating how our understanding of the natural world is often interwoven with our love for a good tale. The bloop, along with the persistent low-frequency hums heard in places like Taos, New Mexico, and Windsor, Ontario, has intrigued many people. Initially, the bloop, detected in 1997 by the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, was thought to come from an animal. However, it turned out to be caused by ice quakes, events where large icebergs crack. This shows how explanations for these unusual sounds can change over time. The strange sounds under the Euphrates River have also sparked a variety of opinions and theories. People often lean towards more exciting explanations because they seem more thrilling than ordinary ones. Even though scientists are trying to find natural causes for these sounds, their work hasn't fully satisfied the public's curiosity, which leaves room for wild guesses. Skeptics, however, take a no-nonsense approach. They suggest that these sounds likely come from natural sources like geological or biological activities. They point out that noises created by the movement of the Earth's plates or gases escaping from underwater cracks could explain the sounds. When gas bubbles from the riverbed rise to the surface and pop, they make noises that might sound unusual. Additionally, skeptics explain that creatures living in the river might be making these sounds. The noises made by these animals can seem strange or even frightening when they echo through water. Previous sounds that were once thought to be unexplained have later been identified as calls from whales, dolphins, or other sea animals. Skeptics rely on a simple rule: the easiest explanation is often the right one. They prefer natural explanations over fantastic or unusual ones, which they believe need a lot more evidence to be considered. They also worry about the reliability of the sound recordings. They question the quality of the recording equipment, the conditions during recording, and whether our brains are turning random noises into familiar sounds. People often link strange events to myths or prophecies in places like the Euphrates, which have rich cultural histories. Skeptics argue that these cultural stories can influence how people interpret these sounds, which might prevent clear thinking about their real causes. As debates heat up, we see different views on what these strange sounds could mean. The horrifying events at the river. To clear up these matters, skeptics urge for more scientific research. They want experiments that recreate the exact conditions of the original recordings, detailed studies by sound experts, and reviews by other scientists to confirm any findings. They believe this careful scientific approach is necessary to move beyond old tales and to truly understand what's behind these sounds. While many find the idea of undiscovered or supernatural sounds exciting, there's a strong push for practical explanations based on solid evidence. Skeptics argue against letting our imaginations run wild without proof, and they advocate for sticking to facts and well-supported theories. This tug-of-war between the allure of the unknown and the demand for scientific proof makes these sounds a continual topic of interest. As scientists and skeptics push for more evidence and clearer explanations, The debate continues, drawing attention from those who favor thrilling stories and those who seek the truth grounded in reality. This ongoing investigation into the sounds is a perfect example of how science can both challenge and change our understanding of the natural world. As the waters of the Euphrates River recede, a unique theory has surfaced. This theory connects the lowering water levels to the emergence of eerie sounds believed to be the cries of fallen angels. According to certain interpretations of religious scriptures, these angels were cast out of heaven and trapped beneath the earth. Supporters of this idea often cite the Book of Revelation, which mentions angels imprisoned at the Euphrates, destined to bring about the end of the world. On the flip side, another group argues that these strange noises might not be angelic at all, but rather the groans of demonic beings or restless spirits confined under the riverbed. These sinister forces are thought to be the cause behind a series of unexplained disasters and haunted tales historically noted around this area. This perspective leans heavily on the long-standing superstitions that have shrouded this region for ages. The Euphrates itself has played a central role in the birth of early civilizations, making it a prime candidate for such legendary associations. It has quietly observed the ebb and flow of great empires and the violent skirmishes fought in the name of both land and spiritual dominion. Moreover, the area is steeped in stories of otherworldly figures meddling in human affairs, fostering a rich backdrop for such supernatural theories. Over centuries, the river has come to symbolize not just a source of life through its waters, but also a symbol of rebirth and destruction through its cyclical floods and droughts. Critically examining these claims, it's clear that the link between the river's physical changes and purported paranormal activities often stems from a human penchant for spectacular stories rather than solid proof. These theories, as intriguing as they are, likely reflect our collective desire to connect natural events to the mystique of ancient prophecies and otherworldly influences. As the riverbed of the Euphrates becomes more exposed, so too does our tendency to weave complex tales that blur the lines between historical events and the fantastical. This inclination is not just a reflection of our curiosity, but also of our fears and the joy found in exploring the unknown. Thus, the drying Euphrates does not just reveal its ancient bed, but also revives the age-old tradition of storytelling, enriching our present with narratives of divine wars and spectral hauntings. This interplay of natural phenomena with mythic stories provides a continuous source of fascination, drawing us back to the mystical allure that has always surrounded this legendary river. The Euphrates River has always been at the heart of many ancient civilizations, and these communities were known for their elaborate stories. They told tales about powerful gods, heavenly battles, and extraordinary beings with abilities far beyond what any human could ever achieve. These ancient stories have survived the ages, handed down from one generation to the next, and they still shape the culture and beliefs of people in the region today. Paranormal enthusiasts are particularly drawn to these tales, often comparing them to similar stories from different parts of the world, where supernatural events are said to forewarn significant happenings. These enthusiasts argue that strange sounds, which have been heard at places considered sacred or haunted, follow a pattern that doesn't change with location. They introduce the idea of thin places, specific spots where they believe the barrier between our world and a spiritual one is weaker. Some suggest that as the Euphrates River dries up, it could be turning into one of these places, supposedly making it easier for humans to encounter supernatural forces. Despite the lack of solid evidence to back up these paranormal theories, they continue to be popular. This popularity seems to stem from a deep-seated human need to feel a connection with something greater than ourselves, whether divine or supernatural. This need drives people to embrace stories that, while intriguing, do not hold up when closely examined. Without real evidence, the idea that the Euphrates might be a gateway to another realm is more about entertainment and clinging to old myths than about factual truth. These stories, fueled by our fascination with supernatural elements, keep living because they tap into basic human emotions and fears. Many find it more appealing and definitely more exciting to speculate about mystical gateways and divine messages rather than face the less thrilling realities, such as environmental damage or political issues, that actually affect the river. This approach not only reflects our global love for ghost stories and unexplained phenomena, but also shows a widespread reluctance to confront and solve real-life problems. As a result, the true issues at hand, such as the river's depletion, often receive less attention than the fanciful tales spun around them. Moving forward, we look at how ancient stories still shape our views today. The unheard screams of the Euphrates. This focus on otherworldly explanations, rather than practical ones, demonstrates a broader cultural trend. It highlights how stories from our ancestors, despite being rooted in times and understandings far removed from our own, continue to influence modern perceptions and decisions. The enthralling nature of such tales can sometimes overshadow pressing contemporary concerns, leading to a cycle where myths are celebrated or feared, while urgent environmental and social issues remain addressed insufficiently. As the river's waters recede, instead of mobilizing efforts towards sustainable management or conservation, some groups are more interested in exploring these mystical narratives, using the river's transformation as a backdrop for stories that are as captivating as they are unverifiable. For some, the sounds from the Euphrates River are not just noises, but hold a deeper spiritual meaning, believed to be messages from a world beyond what we can see and measure. This belief stems more from personal faith and less from solid, tangible proof. These sounds, often described as conundrum, were recorded using high-tech equipment usually used in scientific research. Such devices include hydrophones and geophones, which are common tools in both geological surveys and archaeological digs. Hydrophones are sophisticated underwater microphones that pick up a wide range of sound frequencies, including those that human ears cannot detect. They are immersed in water to gather sounds, providing data that can be as easily misunderstood as it is fascinating. Geophones, on the other hand, detect vibrations traveling through the ground, offering a different kind of data that is frequently misinterpreted. While these devices provide valuable insights into the physical characteristics of an area, the jump to spiritual or otherworldly explanations is often a reflection of human nature, rather than a reflection of the actual data collected. Using such advanced technology begs the question of the usefulness of interpreting natural sounds as supernatural events. Are these sounds really messages from another realm? Or are we just adding a supernatural twist to ordinary, albeit scientifically interesting, acoustic and vibrational data? This clash between scientific inquiry and spiritual interpretation reflects a larger discussion about what science can explain and the limitless nature of human imagination. While technology allows us to detect things beyond our normal sensory capabilities, how we interpret these findings can veer away from scientific grounding. As fascinating as it is to link the sounds from the river to the afterlife, such connections are based more on personal beliefs than on evidence. Here, the Euphrates not only traverses the physical land, but also the subjective realms of human perception, where what is known and unknown are as mixed as the river's flowing waters. Moreover, this preference for spiritual explanations over scientific reasoning showcases the continuous tug-of-war between the need for empirical understanding and the comfort found in spiritual beliefs. This ongoing interplay casts a long shadow over how natural phenomena are perceived and interpreted. As much as technology advances, the allure of linking natural events to supernatural causes persists, fueled by the human propensity for wonder and the allure of the unknown. Listening to sounds under the water is more than just an interesting activity. It's an essential part of studying marine life. Scientists use devices called hydrophones to keep tabs on the conversations of sea creatures like whales and dolphins. This isn't just for fun, it helps scientists understand how these animals interact and how their environment might be changing. Then there are geophones, which listen to a different kind of sound, the movements of the Earth itself. These devices are incredibly sensitive and can pick up the slightest vibrations from underground. By placing them in specific spots, scientists can gather important information about what's happening below the surface, such as minor earthquakes or other geological changes. Another tool used in similar research is the ground-penetrating radar, GPR. This technology works by sending radio waves into the ground and analyzing the echoes that bounce back. It's mostly used to find things buried underground, like old pipes or archaeological sites. Sometimes, though, it can find unexpected things just beneath where we walk, adding another layer of information about our environment. Using these tools, hydrophones, geophones, and GPR, researchers can really get a detailed picture of what's happening both in the water and under the ground. Each device provides a different type of data, and together they help paint a complete picture. However, interpreting the data from these devices isn't always straightforward. The information they provide needs to be carefully analyzed to avoid jumping to conclusions. This deep dive into both the aquatic and the underground through technology does more than just satisfy scientific curiosity. It can influence where we build things, how we protect certain habitats, and even how we prepare for natural disasters. Although these technologies offer a lot of insights, they also depend a lot on human interpretation. Sometimes what the data suggests might be influenced by what researchers expect or hope to find, rather than what is actually there. Understanding the depths of the ocean and the layers of the Earth requires a lot of sophisticated equipment and smart scientists. As these technologies develop, they become even more sensitive and capable, providing even more data for scientists to work with. But no matter how advanced these tools become, the real challenge remains in making sense of all the information they collect. This task requires as much wisdom as it does technological expertise. While our modern tools allow us to find empty spaces that might change the way sounds are made when these areas are disturbed, it's evident that we still have a lot to learn about phenomena like the underwater sounds recorded under the Euphrates. Interpreting these sounds is particularly challenging. The equipment we use, like hydrophones for underwater and geophones for ground, picks up sounds that are influenced by many factors: the material they pass through, how far they travel, and any objects or structures in the way that might change or increase the sounds. Let's dive into the scientific hurdles in understanding these sounds. The murky waters of sound science. Even more challenging is the issue of sound frequencies. Some sounds happen at frequencies that we cannot hear or that our devices can't accurately record. This means we often struggle to understand fully what these sounds signify or where they come from. The complexity increases because sound behaves differently underwater than in air. It moves faster and can travel longer distances, but it also changes more easily because of water temperature, depth, and salt content, which can alter the original sound significantly. Moreover, the devices we rely on to capture these sounds are not perfect. They have specific sensitivities and limitations. If they are not calibrated correctly, if they malfunction, or if they are placed poorly, they can give us incorrect data. This can lead researchers to make wrong assumptions and spend time on theories that don't hold up. Our scientific understanding lacks clarity, which has real-world consequences. For example, without knowing precisely what causes these sounds and their characteristics, it becomes unreliable to use this information for practical purposes, like navigating underwater or predicting natural events. Despite these issues, scientific findings are often presented with a level of certainty that might be misleading. This can lead to overconfidence in our interpretations when a more cautious approach might be appropriate. As a result, we find ourselves in a challenging position. We are exploring new scientific territories where every unfamiliar sound could be an important discovery or merely a misleading noise caused by our own tools. While our technology continues to improve and gives us new ways to explore and measure, it also introduces doubts about our interpretations, reminding us that what we detect might not always reflect what is actually happening. This situation underscores the necessity for continuous improvement in our research methods and tools. It also highlights the need for a healthy skepticism about our findings until they can be verified through multiple tests and corroborated by additional data. We must remember that in science, certainty is a moving target, and what we understand today may be revised tomorrow as we gain more knowledge and insight. Thus, the path to understanding the complex world of underwater sounds is paved with both technological advances and the persistent questions they raise. The exploration of the unusual sounds of the Euphrates River showcases a series of scientific challenges. First off, the recordings themselves often lack clarity and are open to various interpretations, which makes them unreliable for concrete scientific analysis. This ambiguity in the data means that researchers are often left guessing, rather than arriving at verifiable facts. Another major obstacle is the inability to maintain a controlled environment. The Euphrates, with its intricate pathways and lively natural setting, presents a constantly changing backdrop that complicates scientific observation. It's difficult to perform experiments when the environment won't stay the same from one moment to the next, making the necessary consistency for valid scientific experiments elusive. The issue of reproducibility stands out particularly. Scientific progress depends on the ability to perform the same experiment under the same conditions and achieve the same results. However, with these sound events being irregular and influenced by constantly shifting environmental conditions, repeating an experiment exactly is often unfeasible. This lack of consistency throws doubt on any findings, as they can't easily be confirmed by repeat experiments. Furthermore, interpreting these sounds might require expertise from a range of fields, including geology, archaeology, acoustics, and even cultural studies, a combination that rarely comes together smoothly. This interdisciplinary requirement not only makes organizing and funding research more complicated, but also adds layers of potential bias or conflicting interpretations from different scientific perspectives. Each field views the problem through its own lens, which can distort the overall picture. Additionally, the mix of natural and possible human factors in the sounds adds another level of complexity, forcing researchers to differentiate between what is caused by human activity and what is purely a product of natural phenomena. This blending of influences often leads to more questions than answers, with researchers having to guess which factors are at play. In fields like paranormal research, these unexplained sounds are often seen as an opportunity to link historical myths with modern events. While this might capture the imagination, it tends to lean towards sensationalism rather than solid scientific inquiry. The speculative nature of such fields can often overshadow rigorous empirical analysis, leading to more entertaining conclusions than educational ones. In acoustic studies, these sounds could potentially spur the development of new methods or technologies to better understand how sound behaves in such unique environments. This push could lead to advancements in acoustic science, broadening our understanding of sound in unusual settings. Nonetheless, the same basic problems, control over variables, and the ability to reproduce results, limit the practical application of any new knowledge gained. To sum it all up, while the investigation into the sounds from the Euphrates does attract scientific interest, it is fraught with challenges that range from practical to theoretical. These difficulties mean that often research can only offer fragmented insights, each supported by different assumptions and incomplete data. The result is a field of study mired in uncertainty, where solid facts are hard to come by and definitive conclusions remain out of reach. The quest to understand these phenomena is through a landscape filled with more uncertainties than certainties, where clear answers are rare and the pursuit of knowledge is an ongoing struggle against the limitations of current scientific practices. This ongoing challenge hampers clear understanding and fuels a cycle of speculation and incomplete theories. Is our pursuit of understanding sounds from the Euphrates worth the scientific struggle? Comment your thoughts and subscribe for more.